Okay, I am actually planning on writing at some point. I just need to get all my beverages in arm's reach, as one does. There we go. So, I realized I haven't used the sepia dip pen ink for a while. So I'm going to get on that, because it's pretty fun. And it's different enough from the sparkly blue ink that I think it's going to be a nice change of pace. In my recollection, it like works a lot better. The mechanics of the ink are a lot nicer. It's hang on, I have to adjust the mic position here. There we go. Yeah, the mechanics of the ink seem to work a lot nicer. There isn't let's get the camera into a useful place here. Also, I have the windows open because it's like 66 out, so hopefully it'll become 69 out, which is officially nice weather. So the blue ink. Let me get the focus under control here. Maybe. Oh, that's probably as that direction as it goes. Like you can see it's stratified, and I even have the bottle on its side. But like that bottom strata of sparkles is really, really resilient, and I have to like shake it a whole bunch. And even like decanting it into this vial, still has the same problem, even though it's been cut with water. This stuff, with the caveat that I did shake it up already, and it's also really dark, so you can't really see it through the bottle. Works better, I guess. So yeah, let's do some writing. I have some pens in my bag that I haven't taken out, so we're just not going to use those today. One of them's empty. I'll be fine. Excuse me. So I'm trying to think about like what I want to write, which is half the battle. I'm just gonna dunk this whole thing in here. Maybe that's bad. I don't care. Maybe I'll write about that age-old topic, what dinner was. Okay, I'm getting owned by the paper already. I should have extended the bottom stroke of that O a little bit farther. Tonkatsu ramen is one of my favorite kinds of ramen. There are a lot of kinds, but tonkatsu is the. I think my understanding is it's pretty much like the go-to. Ramen scholars, I guess, at me. I guess I don't care. Uh, it's. I am not a ramen scholar, and I'm not. I've only cooked ramen like a handful of times. Uh, I'm not going to say that the packets from the grocery store don't count, but I'm not counting those in my account. What is today? What even is today? It's the 28th. I'm going to make this one short because I have work to do. Also, I have the windows open. I mentioned that already. But yeah, tonkatsu ramen, like, I'm pretty sure that's the one that where you cook pork bones for a while. And by a while, I mean like a few days, not like months or anything. Maybe that would work. Too much ink. And yeah, you cook the pork bones down for a while, get all their bony goodness into the broth. I'm not sure what other stuff like goes in, I guess, a proper tonkatsu. I should learn. I want to cook ramen again. I just ate breakfast, but like I'm talking about food already. That doesn't bode well. But yeah, you cook pork down into a broth, and then you add stuff, and then you can slap some noodles in and eat it. Ta-da! That's food. But I think the pork is probably the active part. I can't write and use Wikipedia at the same time. But somebody in chat maybe can if they care. Low-key, what I would like to be able to do is like the capital T from the failing New York Times' logo. Not because... Well, yeah, because it'd be cool. But I refuse to like look at it. So I'm just going to do this from memory. So you have the swirly top piece. There's like the curve around the bottom. There's something like that. And there's another little hatch that comes out here. That might be wrong. Oh wow, I spelled tonkatsu wrong on the previous line. That rocks. Lots of dump truck traffic in my neighborhood right now. There's still so much construction, and I think there's even like the Koolhaas next door. Like it's getting close. Like there's 3 towers there, and the structure's all done. They aren't like pouring concrete or anything. And I misspelled ramen this time too, because I was thinking about concrete. My one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is the long series of videos where you watch concrete dry. Concrete cures, not dries. And yeah, like I think the last building, they're really getting close to finishing it. Like, within the last few weeks, I've seen them, like, using a crane to move trees up to the top of the building for the, some sort of top building deck. Which, low-key, like, on some days, like, if there's, like, a top building deck here, with today's weather Maybe a bit more clouds, but like this temperature and like a shady place, and let's be real, a power outlet, I would totally work from there. Maybe I'll work outside this afternoon. I should look at the, excuse me, the handwriting guide I've been using. This is just the one that comes with the parallel pens. But, okay, their R is actually pretty simple. The capital Gothic R. Sorry for focus, this camera doesn't have a macro lens. I still should get on that, like a music stand action, so I can have a book that's not on the same plane as the desk. There we go. I'm finally like pleased with this one. I got all the spelling right. The letters are a shape I respect. Wow, that came off really salty. Shape that I respect. Good lord. I'm pleased with the shape of the letters. How's that? The T's not as fancy as it could be. And I actually am going to, on the computer that's sitting next to me, go to the the failing New York Times website. See what racist they put in the opinion column today. Oh, Paul Krugman's there. Oh, and Ross Douthat. I'm pretty sure Ross Douthat's like a eugenics guy or something. Okay, so it's the top on this one is really swirly. Like that. There's a little bit of like a cowlick on top that I'm not going to replicate right now. So it has the big bowl. Okay, so the sidebar comes out of the top-down thing, and that would really work well with less ink. And then there's the vertical stripe, and yeah, too much ink. And there we go. I am happy with that. Let's see if the autofocus can handle this. I found this camera has like focus settings, but it's not a macro lens, so it may be limited in this case. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So the T column and this ink being slow drying. Oh yeah, the kerning on the fourth line as well. I'm mostly happy with that. I don't know if this ink is like particularly slow drying. It doesn't. No, it absolutely is slow drying. As I like wiggle my head around and look for reflections. The downsides of having the window open. Almost. I feel like I missed the rhythm here between the strokes on the A and the M. Like, I think one of the books I looked at said that you can almost keep up a rhythm like between letters because the downstrokes are so strong in this Gothic hand. But it feels like one of those things where I'd really want to like sit down with a like Illustrator or something and tone it out. Just because it's easier to jiggle stuff around and like, you know, figure out what's working and what's not in Illustrator, where you don't have to deal with ink that may or may not be quick drying. Okay, so how do they do this little cowlick here? I'm still... Oh, that's way too much ink. Maybe I'll just not do the cowlick. That's better. And that ink quantity is exactly what I needed. I wonder if I'm coming down with something. Or maybe I just need more beverages, not less. I bet that coffee's almost drinkable. Okay, the N and the K are a little bit too close to each other. Variations, a little serif on the R front leg. I feel like I'm doing variations, but not necessarily because I'm focusing on it. Yeah, I am. I guess I am doing variations on it just to see what I'm happy with in the style. Because fundamentally, that's what I'm in this for, is figuring out what I'm happy with, not necessarily the most like correct thing. Because again, if I want correct, I have Illustrator. I'm noticing the baseline here is creeping up off the grid. Yeah, the ink is a, I'm going to try to not spill it, Winsor & Newton sepia tone. Yeah, the focus isn't going to catch that. Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty accurate color. Or, like, pretty close to spilled coffee. Spilled like dark coffee. Actually, I've got my cool mug today. I can spill some coffee strategically. So that, this paper towel, the coffee just went everywhere, and I've been using this paper towel a lot. But, can I spill some on some paper that doesn't bleed as much as a paper towel which bleeds on purpose? I just completely housed a bunch of coffee. Feels good. I used this paper from last week or something. That's a good question. I'm going to enjoy this learning experience. Pull the focus on the camera back here. Extremely cool mug. So the sepia tone looks like a less dramatic version of the coffee. And part of that is like the coffee is absolutely water-based, and it is pretty strong. Like it's 15 grams of grounds with 220 grams of water, AeroPress inverted style. There's like a Major League Gaming style AeroPress instruction video that I absolutely follow, complete with like dubstep and text superimposed on screen. Wait, what's that? Oh, it's just the dissolved or the solids inside the coffee. Yeah. I brew with a metal filter, so it lets all the a lot of the residue through. Okay, yeah, this camera angle with the lights is really showing a lot of wet ink. Gotta redip. A lot of ink right now. We'll see how it works. I was going to see if I wanted to do like a down style like I did off frame here where you can't see it. If I wanted to do that. Is it meant to be used with an ink roller? So the wetness of different inks is really like it's often a property that the ink formulators are controlling for. I know Nathan of his brand is Noodler's Ink. He actually like has this like huge thing where he has like a zillion different kinds of ink, and like some of them dry quickly for people who write English with the left hand, and I guess other Western languages or other left to right languages. They have this problem where like they move their palm over stuff that they've already written, just because of the geometry of like how you write. So people that write that way want inks that dry really fast. But on the flip mode, I suspect what's going on is that inks that dry fast, the compromise you have to do to get like fast drying ink probably affects some other properties of it. Like the Emerald of Kivor, which I don't have on the desk right now. Maybe I do. What's this one? That's not it. Like that one doesn't dry fast at all. Like I suspect that a lot of it that I've used a bunch in previous weeks might still be wet. So this is some that I wrote with Emerald of Kivor like a week or so ago. More than that. And like my hand is not blue right now. That's just glare from the sky. And yeah, there's like blue or green and sparkles in my fingers now. But I bet this other stuff, which is the Pilot Sepia, I have to find an empty spot in my hand. Like that hasn't come off on my hand at all. But the Emerald Kivor is like way prettier than the Pilot Sepia. So yeah, like all these different things are just it's fascinating to me. Like I work as a computer toucher where everything's like binary. It either is or it isn't. And even like dumb stuff, well, not dumb stuff, but useful things like floating point numbers, like which seem to be like really weird and unpredictable, end up just being completely predictable because they're in a computer. And like doing this has like given me a real appreciation for how stuff works like in the real world. This and gardening. Gardening's really good. Just like the how fuzzy and like the real world just random stuff happens all the time. Trying to get this to a place where I can write with the parallel and still have it get seen. And like the mechanics of the ink are something that I'm really getting an appreciation for. Because it is like at the end of the day, it's a mechanical system that like, and some inks turn it into a physical system like or a chemical system like the Noodler's has some he calls them bulletproof inks, like Empire Red, which I think I'll do next. And that one, it chemically bonds to the paper instead of just like getting tangled up with the fibers in the paper. But it means that you can't like wash it out with water. Which is an absolutely wild thing to think about. And also he still formulates these because he's worried about check washing. or he thinks other people that he might sell ink to are worried about check washing. And check washing seems like such a weird crime in the 21st century. The like the number one way like big crimes and especially financial crimes get caught are things written down. And a check is an object like written down and then like entered into a database that causes money to move around, and it's kept like indefinitely. And I guess it might be like if the check's a small enough amount that it's not worth the like victim to go like prosecute the thing. I could see that being like a deal, but at that point if the amounts are that small, it's almost not worth committing the crime. Reading about like crimes and especially financial crimes is so much fun. A few years ago, I read the book American Kingpin. I forget the author, but it's about Ross Ulbricht, who did the Silk Road darknet market and kind of invented the idea of using bitcoins to buy drugs and bitcoins to hire assassins to kill people in your organization or on the site that you thought were feds. And he also invented hiring assassins who were feds on the admin team of the site to kill people who weren't admins. At which point the feds like gathered a bunch of evidence and started to figure out who he was. And the funniest part is, while they were like investigating it, one of the leads came from a bunch of like fake IDs that he had, that people on the site were buying. And he bought some, and he had them shipped to his place in San Francisco. And they got, like, pinched at customs. So I think it was, like, the Secret Service, some Fed law enforcement. Sent people to his apartment to, like, ask him some questions about these fake IDs. And he answers the door, and he tells them all about, like, darknet markets, because he's the expert. But he doesn't tell them he's the expert, he just knows a lot about them. And he cages it in that, like, fake internet, like, hypothetically, there might be a place on, Tor where people can buy fake IDs and stuff. And, like, I don't know, federal law enforcement isn't stupid. And whenever, like, a few months later they kept gathering evidence, they're like, wait a minute. It was this guy who told us all about this stuff. And everything we can find like shows that he's still in San Francisco, like he didn't skip the country as a Bitcoin billionaire as soon as we showed up on his doorstep. So they eventually were like, okay, well, we need to get a little bit more evidence. And what happens is they get somebody, like one of the admins of the site that was also a Fed, to create a urgent issue that he had to go log in from. And like Ross had like some good OPSEC, like he would go to a public library or a coffee shop and like log into Tor and do everything that way, which is like a good idea. But he also like kept a journal open on his computer the whole time, and when he was in the library like resolving this issue, the Fed on the other end like calls the people in the library that like followed him in there and said, yep, he's logged into the site, and they're, standing behind him at his computer, and they see him, like, on the site. So they stage a distraction, like, two of the agents pretend to be, like, in a relationship together and, like, start a quarrel. And, like, Ross looks up, and they, one of the other agents, like, grabs his computer and plugs a mouse wiggler into it, while, so the screen won't lock. And they, arrest him right there. And, like, prison and jail and, like, law enforcement is, mostly bad. But it is, like, really, really funny to watch a guy who's, running a murder for hire system online to watch him get convicted. And pretty easily, just because he had mycrimes.txt open. Taking notes on a criminal conspiracy. So yeah, that's a good book, American Kingpin. Nick Bilton Jr. wrote it. I think Jr. I like these really angular faces, but I don't know how to write this one super small. Maybe the punchline is don't write it super small. So that's the Pilot sepia, and it comes out a lot more evenly than the dip pen sepia. So I think this has the Empire Red in it, and it's not a easy ink to start, so it may take a moment here. Because I haven't used this pen in weeks. I've been out of town for a week. Okay, see if I can kick it with the sepia. Pour a little bit of water from my glass on it, see if that does it. Okay, a little bit of movement here. Okay, that level of bleed is promising. Well, that was promising, but then it wasn't. Okay, that's looking better. Well, I thought it was better, but then it wasn't. Okay, I think I just need to wait for the buffer to build up at the tip of the pen. Maybe go slower. Yeah, that's working well. I just, yeah, it just takes time to get the pen going. And this pen's not wide enough to do Gothic stuff really well. I made that O too small. And I should have put a foot on that U. So it goes. So yeah, this is the Empire Red, and it's not a super dark red. This is probably the most representative thickness for it, but we'll see as it goes. It may, as I work with it, the ink flow may clear up. It's like any other kind of plumbing where some amount of stuff moving through it is good for it. And that's why, like, after I, don't write for a week, it's always kind of hard to get stuff started. Nah. Nah. Get going. Ronan. I spelled that one wrong. Looks like there's some buildup at one end of this ink vial. Yeah, we'll see if that clears it up. Although if I'm only at the bottom of the page, and I'm probably not going to go for a full hour because I've got a work meeting in 30 minutes. We'll see. Yeah, this is just misbehaving all over the place. Wonder if it's just, like, whenever things get close to out of ink, that's usually when they kick. So I may just reload that later. I'm going to switch to the Lamy Safari with the Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki blue ink. And this one also I haven't touched for a week, but this pen has been really well behaved, and the Pilot inks are almost always, like, supremely well behaved. Yeah, there we go. Moving the mic in this particular spot makes shadows an issue. What I kind of want is an arm for the mic, but I also want to be able to move the mic to my main workstation for, like, work meetings and stuff. If I'm moving the mic, I should probably put it on mute, right? That K looks a lot like an H. It's something that needs work. There we go. That's almost like textbook good. That cursive uppercase T I'm not, like, a super fan of, but I don't really know what else to do with it. And that M looks a lot like an N. Like, if I just do that, it doesn't, like, vibe right, and I'm absolutely going to use that hand wavy language to deal with it. I mean, fundamentally it is art and it's all opinions, so... Let's see if the the Metro with the fine Metro with black in it is nice today. Usually is. It's a solid pen with a good ink. And it's being a bit fussy at the beginning. Quick wipe. Okay, now it's still fussy. Oh, that's why. It's almost kicked. It'll do its best once it gets started. Bus at a stop sign outside. All right, so that's today's handwriting. I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I wish I had more time, but it's a weekday, and the whole like working for money thing. Pull the camera out here, and make sure I'm not yanking the camera stand out of the spot on the desk. So yeah, the first handful up here, that's the dip pen with the Speedball Charlie 2 nib. It's a messy little nib. It's also set it down on the paper too early. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. The Charlie 2 nibs, like, I don't think it's the widest. The widest I have is the Charlie 1. But the Charlie 2 is pretty fun. Really, like, right here where I nailed the, like, New York Times uppercase T, like, I'm happy with that. Then after that, for these three, I used the Parallel 2.4 millimeter. Just a solid pen, and it's got the Pilot Parallel Sepia ink. This was the Schaefer calligraphy fountain pen. I think it's their fine nib with the Empire Red. And because it was the first time using it in, a week or more, it misbehaved. But after some writing, it got better, but I do think it needs a reload. Then in blue down here is the Lamy Safari with the Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki ink, which pretty much started up right away. It was a little bit thin up here, but then it gets, nice and thick with 2 C's down here. And this is the Metro with Pilot black, like not the Iroshizuku black, just the regular black. Yeah, I think this pen's like $15. And it's, relatively expensive for, a plastic fountain pen. But it's kind of cute in like a German way. So it's got the clip right here. And it feels like almost a, like cute in like a BMW way. So the cartridges on this one, they're, like the end right here is thinner than the rest of it. And the way it ships is with a cardboard ring around here with the cartridge in the pen but not opened. And the way you activate the pen for the first time is you pull the ring off. And then whenever you screw this cap on, it forces the cartridge, like there's a plunger on the end of this that forces the cartridge into the section and starts the pen. But it's got like a window on the side right here so you can see the ink. And the grip on this section here, there's like a rounded part, and then there's 2 flat parts. So whenever you're holding it, the fingernail of your, that's my ring finger. I know all of the fingers. Your ring finger is like resting on the round part, and then just like the top of it, and then the like print of your middle and thumb are pushing on these flat parts. So it's a really, really easy pen to hold. And what's really cute is whenever you set it down on a table, it'll balance on the clip alone, so the barrel of the pen isn't touching the table here. I'm trying to think of a way to point this out without reeling the camera around. Like, there's coffee on this paper, and it's not being, like, disrupted by the pen. Really, really slick. And I appreciate that. It's a completely superfluous, like, feature. Some, German guy, probably really, really enjoyed doing that. But it's a fun pen. And the last 3 here was the Pilot Metro with the Metro Black. And the Metro is it is like the $30 fountain pen. It's like a comfortable weight. It looks great. It looks expensive, actually. And it's been like completely reliable. And I have a medium nibs one somewhere. but I have no idea where it is. Yeah, so that is today's calligraphy. Okay, link to the pen. So let me pull that up here. Actually, I'm just going to type the name. I don't feel like dealing with Amazon or anything right now. And I think the one I'm using here is either the medium or the fine nib. Yeah, this is the fine one. I also have a Lamy Nex with 2 X's in the other room. And I think I have that one in a medium nib, but don't quote me on that. He said into a microphone. Yeah, it's good. You can absolutely, like, if you're in Germany, you can literally buy this at, like, Berlin Hauptbahnhof at the McPaper there. That's where I bought the Lamy Nex. But yeah, a lot of, like, I don't know if a lot of, like, necessarily art stores would have this one. Maybe art stores, possibly office supply stores. But yeah, online places are going to be good. So yeah, that's all I got. I said I was going to go short, but it's only like 47 minutes instead of 60. I might actually make more coffee before my meeting in 20 minutes. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll probably be back on tomorrow. Later.